with our emails coming in, we're starting to see a little bit of a trend, which we didn't see at the beginning of the virus. And now that we have been, isolated for a period of time, and a certain domino effect has happened with the economy, I'm noticing a lot of emails from people who are angry. And so I want to read one email that comes in from Maddie from Toledo, Ohio. And she says, Dr. Bregman, I am so angry. Last month, my mother died in the hospital from COVID-19. I find myself driving by the hospital being angry because of her death. I'm mad at myself for maybe not doing all that I could. I'm mad at my family for the silliest things. I'm mad at God. I'm mad at the world. Why am I so angry?
Okay, Linda, I think a lot of people are suffering from this, and I think we need to digress just for a moment and think about stages of loss. And basically, we've gone through the denial. That's over. It happened. We tried to do some bargaining to see if they could get back to the way it was, and that didn't work. And now in the stages of grief and mourning and loss, we're dealing with anger. And that's
right.
Like protests, like angry. Okay, so here's a lady. She lost a loved one, and she has basically survivor guilt. And
okay.
guilt can lead to anger. When we feel guilty, we could become angry. So here's a lady who is displacing her anger onto an object like the hospital, okay,
right.
and the whole situation that happened. And instead of really mourning and trying to move through the stages of death and dying and mourning her mom, she's angry at the hospital. And it's an unconscious mechanism, and basically she doesn't get better, and she doesn't move on unless she has to own that she is mourning and mom died, and it's not just a hospital, and she has to really come to grips with it. And I think that's really what I would help her with her friends, her family. And
sorry for disrupting you, but I before I forget, I wanted to ask you, certainly what she's describing happens a lot with any type of death, but how is it exacerbated during this time of COVID-19, where it seems like what would be a normal response, a normal emotion, seems to be heightened?
Okay, really well said. And I think this is important for everybody. This is a whole concept of survivor guilt. What happens in survivor guilt, and there's so much of that going on because people weren't allowed to see their loved ones. They never said goodbye to them. They put them in nursing homes, they put them in hospitals, and they never saw them again. So they have this tremendous guilt that they did this, and they can't really tolerate it. So what they do is they deny it and they displace it onto another object like the hospital. And then,
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is really the whole concept of survivor guilt. And you could see how the displacement of the anger, which is an unconscious mechanism, it doesn't help the individual to get better and to deal with the loss of the loved one.
So what does she do? What do others, hundreds, thousands of others right now in the same position, how do they overcome this so they can get strong again?
Well, first, really, you have to really own it. I mean, meaning, that, look, it was a situation that, your mom went to the hospital. She had to go. She was sick. You didn't put her there. It wasn't your fault. It isn't your fault that you didn't see her and you weren't there with her. So you have to understand that to own it and stop putting it onto other things and displacing it, and become conscious of it and know that you're putting on to things that you don't need to put it on, and take care of this yourself.
Great advice. And I hope that Maddie takes what you've told her to heart and that she heals. So thank you. Thank you for your wonderful advice, and we'll talk soon.
BregmanMD Medical Group offers online psychiatry and online therapy.